like samadhi. Just be in the moment, be in the moment, be in the moment, be in the moment. The goal is nirvana. Sounds nice sounding word. What does that mean? Cessation of material existence. And what's on the other side of the moment? Nothing. Nothingness. Because all there is the moment. You go on the other side of the moment, there's nothingness. Welcome to the realm of nothingness. Now you're an enlightened Buddhist. Now there's a different, from the Puranam Amalam, there's a different teaching. And from Bhagavad Gita. The root cause of suffering is ignorance. And from ignorance comes ignorant desire, because desire is of the soul. The problem isn't desire. The problem is not having a desire. You exist, you have a desire. You go out of existence. You can't go out of existence. You can try, become a Buddhist and go out of existence, become nothing. But you exist. And so with existence, there's desire. And when desire is covered by ignorance, and you get ignorant desire. And from ignorant desire comes ignorant activity, comes suffering. So what do you do about that? Knowledge removes ignorance. At least the potency is there to remove ignorance. Light has the potency to remove darkness. Depends on how bright the light is, how much darkness is dispelled. And this Srimad Bhagavatam is the brightest light of this wisdom that's from an infallible source, the Vedas. It's the topmost of the infallible Vedas. Not only according to Srimad Bhagavatam, but according to the other parts of the Vedas. We're going to see some of it as soon as I stop blabbering. There's some nice references of different portions of the Puranas that point to Srimad Bhagavatam as the topmost. They're in the same category of Puranas, or histories. That section of the Vedas, that's the history section of the Vedas. But they point to Srimad Bhagavatam. And there's many nice things to say. Even in Rig Veda, there's reference to features of what we find in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Shruti section of the Vedas. But that's another topic. So we just finished Janmashtami. The Ashtami is on the 8th day of the waning moon. Correct? Because before the waning moon is the full moon. Then the 8th day of the waning moon, the Ashtami, that's Janmashtami. In the next month, the month of Shravan is the prior full moon, and this is now the phase of the moon called the Bhadra. This month is the month of Bhadra, and it becomes Bhadra Purnima. On September 17th, we have a way to go. So we're warming up for Bhadra Purnima. Because Srimad Bhagavatam, this Puranam Amalam, I'm saying Purana instead of not Pramana. It should be Pramana. Anyway, here we go. Here's the reference from the Srimad Bhagavatam 12:13-18. If on the full moon day of the month of Bhadra, one places Srimad Bhagavatam on a golden throne and gives it as a gift, he, the giver, not that it doesn't say what happens to the recipient of the gift, that's another thing, but you give this gift, you, the giver, will attain the supreme transcendental destination. So we're going to end this up by saying, is that a hyperbole? Is that an exaggeration? It's like, really? Really? We had a little discussion, your question this morning. Here's a nice verse. This is from Srinath Chakravarti his commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. No, excuse me, his biography of the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mata Manjusha. The ways of worship of the son of King of Vrajadam, or Sri Nanda Maharaj, the son of, may be various, but the one which was conceived by the circle of damsels of Brajabhumi is unsurpassable by any other devotee. The gopis are the best. Srimad Bhagavatam Purana is the unalloyed guidance for this purpose of approaching the worshipful Lord. Unalloyed guidance for this purpose, to come to that topmost stage. Now, some other references just to appreciate Srimad Bhagavatam. We're going to be, when I come back after this visit to St. Louis, you're going to be hearing a whole lot Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. So get used to it. Here's that verse, and another verse from Padma Purana, similar to a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. All other religious scriptures remain respected in an assembly of learned people, as long as Srimad Bhagavatam, which is filled with nectar, does not enter their assembly. As soon as Srimad Bhagavatam comes to their hands, other spiritual scriptures become faded. It's topmost. This is from Garuda Purana, quoted from Hari Bhakti Vilas. The meaning of the Vedanta Sutra is present in Srimad Bhagavatam. The full purport of the Mahabharata is also there. The commentary of the Brahma Gayatri is also there. And this is not the Bhagavatam saying, raising his arms. This is Garuda Purana saying about the Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his incarnation as Vyasadeva. There are 12 cantos, in case you're not sure what we're speaking about. 12 cantos, 335 chapters, and 18,000 verses. That one has all these characteristics. Pretty special, huh? Here's Matsya Puranam, wherein the supreme Dharma is elaborated upon on the foundation of Gayatri, and where the killing of Vritrasura demon is mentioned, is known by the name Srimad Bhagavatam. One who, on the full moon day, gives away in charity Srimad Bhagavatam, establishing it on a golden throne, will attain the highest destination. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of 18,000 verses. Again, that one. Known with these verses and chapters and the story of Vritrasura. And there's others. We'll wait for other evenings when we visit. You get panorama. Here's something that Srila Prabhupada wrote, and we're going to go then to Bhaktisiddhanta. Srimad Bhagavatam, this is purport to 2.8.2 Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is certainly a very dear scripture for all the devotees of the Lord, but it is auspicious even for the non-devotees also, because it explains that even the non-devotees hovering under the spell of the material energy can be delivered from such clutches if they hear the narration of Srimad Bhagavatam with devotion and attention from the right source, representing the Lord by disciplic succession. Bhaktisiddhanta, one of his, it's not his own specific writing, but it's from his writings gathered on the topic of the Bhagavatam. The title of that book in English is No Other Book Like the Bhagavat. Even if all the books of the world were burned, there would be no harm, provided one treatise was left, Srimad Bhagavatam. Even if thousands of learning centers were to be abolished, there would be no feeling of inconvenience, provided the reading and teaching of the Srimad Bhagavatam continued. Now he's going extreme, but it's to paint a picture. There are no other books in the world like Srimad Bhagavatam. This is not mere tittle-tattle or an exaggerated homage. If one reflects on it as a truly impartial judge, one will realize that there has not been, nor will there ever be, a book like the Bhagavatam, Sri Chaitanya's teachings. Now, you may know about this book. This, you probably may not know the title of it, but before Bhaktisiddhanta sent two sannyasis on behalf of the Gaudiya Math to fulfill the vision of the previous acharya, specifically even his father, Bhaktivinoda, they waited and waited until this book was completed in English. This isn't a translation of something from Bengali or Hindi or Sanskrit. It's English written. And it's to tell the people that don't know anything about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, because the teachings of Lord Chaitanya are the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. The teaching of Srimad Bhagavatam are the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. The words are different. The message is identical. So this is words that are meant to give an introduction to how important is Srimad Bhagavatam for understanding the highest truth. Vedanta Sutra gives the highest truth. That's where it starts. It's the Gayatri. That's what the Gayatri gives. That's what it is. Through Vedic mantra. Vedanta Sutra is the summary of all the Vedas. The Srimad Bhagavatam is its commentary, natural commentary. You can't get better than that. Here's Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta's father. From Pranava, Om, came Gayatri. From Gayatri came the Vedas. From the Vedas came the Brahma Sutra. And from the Brahma Sutra came the Srimad Bhagavatam, which has brightly risen like Sachit Ananda sun. Those who have eyes should see, those who have ears should hear, and those who have minds should meditate on the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is an introduction to one of his 100 books, Krishna Samhita. One of our predecessor acharyas, Sanatana Goswami, this isn't something he said, it's something about his life. He was born in a Saraswat Brahmin family. There's history of how he got to North India, but there's, besides the history of how he got there, he was born in the northern part of India in Ramakeli. When Sri Sanatan was young, a Brahmin appeared to him in a dream and blissfully gave him Srimad Bhagavatam when he woke up. He was perturbed. It was just a dream. Then, later that morning, the same Brahmana came and gave him the Srimad Bhagavatam. Prophetic, huh? When he obtained the Bhagavatam, Sanatana became ecstatic and merged into the ocean of prema. After this incident took place, Sanatana began reading Srimad Bhagavatam daily. How'd you like to have such a dream? And then comes the Bhagavatam. Well, it may not happen, but you can, in your mind, dream, and then you can get a Bhagavatam. Just like that. Just like that. Just like that. Or somebody else, that maybe they have a dream and you give them a Bhagavatam. Just like that. Later, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave personal instruction to Sanatana about the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. Based on those instructions, Sanatana compiled Dig Darshani Tika, a commentary on Hari Bhakti Vilas, Vaishnava Toshini, and Brihad Bhagavatamrita. All of those books mentioned, Digdarshini Tika, and commentary on Hari Bhakti Vilas, and Vaishnava Toshini, and Brihad Bhagavatamrita. They're commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam. That means it's just a different lens to look at the same topic, which was his life and soul from childhood. There's a very nice history, very sweet history, where the queens of Dwarka came to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Would you like to hear how that happened? I don't hear anyone saying yes. I don't hear anyone saying no. It's a very nice story. We know the place where it happened too. After Krishna's disappearance from this world, his queens came to Braja, where Vajra Nabha, Krishna's grandson, was protecting them. So what happened? Arjuna escorted the queens from Dwarka because it was going to become submerged under Krishna's instruction to his chariot and driver, Daruka, that should happen. They should be taken to Hastinapur. No, taken to Mathura, where they would be in the care of Vajranabha. Vajranabha, Krishna's grandson, knew the places where Krishna had performed his pastimes. The queens wanted to see. We want to see. The queens wanted to see the places of Krishna's pastimes, so Vajranabha took them. One day, while being tormented by the pain of separation from Krishna, they noticed that their co-wife Kalindi was happy. They asked her to explain the reason. Kalindi explains about Uddhava's remedy. What's Uddhava's remedy? Uddhava spoke Srimad Bhagavatam to the Braja Gopis, or the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the company of Maharaj Parikshit and Vajranabha, the queens set out to find Uddhava with a great festival of Krishna Sankirtan. As the Sankirtan became tumultuous, suddenly Uddhava came out of the grove of bushes and creepers, because what was he doing in grove? He wanted to become a blade of grass in Vrindavan, so he could be trampled by the gopis, because he had such affinity for the gopis. So they came having kirtan, and he appeared when the kirtan became tumultuous. Finding all of them absorbed in Krishna kirtan, Uddhava offered his respects and embraced Maharaj Parikshit. Now this is found both in Skanda Purana and in Padma Purana. This is not just, Brijbasi lore. This is authoritative. That there's a place where that happened. It's a very sacred place in Vrindavan, along the side of the Govardhan Hill, Uddhavakund. You've been there? How have you been there? If you haven't been there, one day, when you go to Govardhan, when you go to Vrindavan, you got to do Govardhan Prikrama. The guide that's taking you around, go ask him, where is Uddhavakund? It's around the perimeter of Govardhan Hill. And that's the place where the queens came and had kirtan. So ecstatically they came. Uddhava appeared from grass and bushes and embraced Maharaj Parikshit. Uddhava said to Maharaj Parikshit, "O king, you are most fortunate. You are always in exclusive devotion to Krishna. Among all the inhabitants of Dwarka, these queens are without doubt most fortunate. Under the influence of Yoga Maya, they have forgotten themselves and are suffering from anxiety caused by separation from Krishna. Unless Krishna becomes visible to them, none of them will regain their proper consciousness. But Krishna has wound up his pastimes. That time has finished, and now we have entered a different age. However, listen, and I will tell you another way." Guess what the other way is? Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, right? he can be visible through the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now that's in other Puranas spoken about an event that the queens, Uddhava didn't narrate Srimad Bhagavatam to them, but he encouraged them. When was the Bhagavatam written? It was written sometime after Krishna's departure. So the Puranas may know past, present, and future. Aside from chronology, it's not fiction. It's not Harry Potter. It's the Puranas. Here are some different occasions at different times, because they're different days of Brahma, when the Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken. And the different features of those Bhagavatam, because 18,000 verses isn't everything. There's many, many, many other versions and other verses that aren't covered within our present Srimad Bhagavatam. According to Skanda Purana, Lord Krishna spoke Srimad Bhagavatam to Lord Vishnu. Then Lord Vishnu, according to Skanda Purana, spoke to Goddess Lakshmi. Bhagavatam. Not the Vedas, but specifically the Bhagavatam. Lord Narayan, according to Skanda Purana, spoke Srimad Bhagavatam to Lord Shiva. And then Lord Narayan spoke to Lord Brahma. That's referenced in different places, 3rd canto, 12th canto, and then a very, very special place, the Chatur Shloki verses of the Bhagavatam. So this set of Srimad Bhagavatams over here, you can take your little notes and find those verses if you want, but there's the verses. 3rd canto, 12th canto, 2nd canto, the Chatur Shloki, 4 essential verses. That's the essence of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. Here's that 3rd canto reference. O Uddhava, in the lotus millennium, in the days of yore, at the beginning of the creation, I spoke unto Brahma, Narayana, who is situated on the lotus that grows out of my navel. So that's Garbhodakshay Vishnu. But Narayana is the source of Garbhodakshay Vishnu. About my transcendental glories, which the great sages describe as Srimad Bhagavatam, or in the 12th canto. It was to Lord Brahma that the Supreme Personality of Godhead first revealed the Srimad Bhagavatam in full. At that time, Brahma, frightened by material existence, was sitting on the lotus flower that had grown from the Lord's navel. Now, it's not necessarily that this is describing the same day of Brahma. I'm repeating this probably another time before we're done. There are different days of Brahma, and Krishna appears at different days of Brahma. The Srimad Bhagavatam appears at different days of Brahma. So just allow for it maybe different days. Or Lord Brahma speaks to Narada Muni, having heard, and after speaking to Narada Muni, then something else. Here's the verse. O Narada, right from Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7. The science of God, Srimad Bhagavatam, was spoken to me. Who is the to me that's being referred to? Vyas. In summary, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead was spoken as the accumulation of his diverse potencies. Please expand this science yourself. Excuse me, the Lord Brahma speaking to Narada. Then Narada spoke it to Vyas. That was the next. Here's the reference. In succession, O king, the great sage Narada instructed Srimad Bhagavatam unto the unlimitedly powerful Vyasadeva, who meditated in devotional service upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, on the banks of the river Saraswati. We're going to visit that place. Woo, woo, woo. It's called Vyas Guha, the cave of Vyas, where he sat and wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam. I don't know how we're going to fit all the people into that little cave. I've seen photographs of the cave, but it's exactly a cave. I hope no one gets claustrophobic and has a panic attack. But this is the place. Vyas heard from Narada, Narada heard from Brahma. And then he wrote Srimad Bhagavatam about Krishna. Of course, there's the other version, what we know from first canto, that Vyas received from Narada, Brahma, Narada, Vyas, from Brahma, the personality of Godhead, Krishna. Then Vyas taught Shukadev. Here's the verse from the Bhagavatam. The great sage Vyasadeva, after compiling the Srimad Bhagavatam and revising it, taught it to his own son, Sri Shukadeva Goswami, who was already engaged in self-realization. And then, again, second canto, at the end of Dwapara Yuga, I study this great supplement, this Shuka. I study this great supplement of Vedic literature named Srimad Bhagavatam, which is equal to all the Vedas from my father, Sri Dvaipayana Vyas. Then, of course, Shukadeva instructed the same to Maharaj Parikshit. Here, first canto, chapter 3, verse 42. Shukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, in his turn, delivered the Bhagavatam to the great Emperor Maharaj Parikshit, who sat surrounded by sages on the bank of the Ganges awaiting death without taking food or drink for 7 days. We fasted for 1 day. A lot of people that didn't also, but that's okay. 7 days. And then Maharaj Parikshit when Shukadeva Goswami finished speaking Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit, there was some time left before the snake bird came. So Uttara, the mother of Maharaj Parikshit, came and said, "My dear son, could you summarize? I couldn't understand everything." And Maharaj Parikshit said, "Mom, this is not the best time to ask such a question. Because you're mom, I'll give you a summary." And the summary became Brihat Bhagavatamrita. That's how it begins. There's the reference, 1:1:18. Uttara is asking him to summarize before the snake bird appeared to Taksha. Here's the verse. Blessed Uttara said, "My dear son, please extract the essence of what Shukadeva has taught you and quickly reveal it to me as if churning the nectar of immortality from the ocean of milk." It's spoken again and spoken again and spoken again. Sutta, speaking to the sages, because he was in the assembly hearing Maharaj Parikshit speak it to, Shukadeva Goswami speaking it to Maharaj Parikshit. Here's the verse. "O Sutta Goswami, you are a learned and pure devotee of the Lord because the personality guided is your chief object of service. Therefore, please describe to us the pastimes of the Lord, which are above all material conception." We're back to pramana. Aparushaya, Shabda pramana. Aparushaya, infallible source. Purusha and Apurusha. Aparushaya Shabda. Beyond all material conception. But speaking of things, how are we going to get a conception of things without a material conception of things? By a spiritual conception of things. We have to switch channels. For we are anxious to receive such messages. And similarly, 12th canto. Oh, best of the Kurus. The same Sutta Goswami who is sitting before us will speak this Bhagavatam to the sages assembled in the great sacrifice of Naimisharanya. This he will do when questioned by the members of the assembly headed by Shaunaka. 12th canto. It's like it's already done it because this is the 12th canto. And in Skanda Purana, we already heard how the gopis hear the importance of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Similarly, in Bhubaneswar, this I learned from Madhavananda. Madhavananda lives in Bhubaneswar and very near Puri, a very nice learned devotee. Lord Shiva speaks to Parvati and to Shukadeva Goswami. At least that's the local tradition in Bhubaneswar. Lord Shiva speaks the Srimad Bhagavatam to Parvati and to Shukadeva Goswami. In the Bhagavatam, this is another day of Brahma, Lord Sankarshan speaks to the 4 Kumaras, the Srimad Bhagavatam. So there's different disciplic successions, right? One of it is Lord Brahma, another is the 4 Kumaras. The Kumara Sampradaya, how did it start? Lord Sankarshana, one of the expansions of Balaram, is Lord Sankarshana. And he taught Srimad Bhagavatam to the 4 Kumaras. And so in the Kumara Sampradaya, they have very, very, very similar, not identical, because it's different day of Brahma, but very similar ideas and ways of worship. Here's the verse. Lord Sankarshana thus spoke the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam to the great sage Sanat Kumar, who had already taken the vow of renunciation. Sanat Kumar also, in his turn, when inquired of by Sankyayana Muni, explained Srimad Bhagavatam as he heard it from Sankarshana. Different day of Brahma. The 4 Kumaras then speak to Sankyayana Muni. That's this nice painting. They don't have a text, but that's what's mentioned in the verse that I read. Sankyayana Muni then in turn spoke to Parashara Muni and Brahaspati, which is mentioned in the very next verse of 3rd canto, chapter 8, and is also mentioned in the Skanda Purana. Here's the verse from the Bhagavatam. The great sage Sankyayana was the chief amongst the transcendentalists, and when he was describing the glories of the Lord in terms of Srimad Bhagavatam, it so happened that my spiritual master Parashara and Brahaspati heard him. That's Vyasa, his spiritual master. Brahaspati to Uddhava, according to Skanda Purana, after he told Uddhava. Different day, Brahma, that's okay. Parashara Muni to Maitreya Muni, mentioned in the 3rd canto Bhagavatam. The great sage Parashara, as aforementioned, being so advised by the great sage Pulastya, spoke to me, the foremost of the Puranas, Bhagavatam. I shall also describe this before you, my dear son, in terms of my hearing, because you are always my faithful follower. Maitreya spoke it to Vidura. You get the idea. It's not a new literature. There are different times and different circumstances that it's been noted in different scriptures, certainly in the Bhagavatam, but other scriptures, of how special and how glorious, and somehow or another, Yadrichaya. What does Yadrichaya? It means somehow or other. Yeah, causeless mercy. What's the cause of causeless mercy, anyways? There's no cause. It's just, why does the sun shine? Because it shines. That's what suns do. They shine. Merciful people are merciful because they're connected to the Supreme Merciful. Why is the Supreme merciful? Because he's just merciful. You connect to him and you're merciful. And you give light in the place where there's darkness. In this age of Kali, there's too much darkness. like the verse we spoke about in Bhagavatam class this morning, reality distinguished from illusion for the benefit of all. And this, you know, the age of Kali gets darker and darker. The light gets dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. And sinful activity becomes more prolific, profuse, and abundant, and, you know, you got to watch out. It's a dangerous time, a dangerous place. You know, being a parent in Kali Yuga, good luck to all of you. And kids growing up in Kali Yuga, good luck to all of you. You're going to need Srimad Bhagavatam, please. You know, you need Kirtan, and you need Srimad Bhagavatam. Both. Not just Kirtan. But I'll just share this. Once upon a time, I was a college kid. Now, some of you are in college or going to be college kids. And you're going to be exposed to all kinds of stuff. Not just mom and dad stuff, but, you know, all kinds of stuff. I mean, in high school and in school, but, you know, college is another ratcheting it up a little bit. So when I was in college, I didn't know anything about anything except, you know, being successful. But I didn't really know what being successful was. I just was following the model that you're supposed to follow. And you're doing an okay job at it. But it didn't cut it. And I did, you know, foolish things because I was part of that foolishness of being successful. And along came Baba Ram Das, this Be Here Now guy. And he was a good speaker because he was a Harvard professor. And he left Harvard to go to India to learn about spirituality. And he came back, Baba Ram Das. Richard Albert became an impersonalist yogi, or, you know, guy. And how he tested his teacher was he gave him 5 LSD tablets to see what would happen, and nothing happened. So this guy's, he's up there. He was a connoisseur of LSD, as was, you know, someone who traveled with Srila Prabhupada, Allen Ginsberg. Nothing. Here's 5 more, nothing. So this guy's up there. So I wanted to find out how to get up there. So, and his teacher taught him to chant Hare Krishna. So he went around being the mystical figure in the college circuit, Baba Ram Das. That's how I was introduced to chanting Hare Krishna, before I met Hare Krishna devotees in Prabhupada. You know, Be Here Now, and the whole thing. In Buddhism, and the whole thing, and the whole thing. But, you know, that was before this total directionless, being successful kind of lifestyle. Then came the spiritual direction of some, you know, exploring. So you know, it's Kali Yuga. There's lots of stuff out there that's distraction from reality, distinguished from illusion. And how to stay with reality? You have to want it. You have to want it, you know, sufficiently that you can say no to illusion of its different varieties. So read Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's for the benefit of all devotees, non-devotees. Prabhupada discusses this directly. We'd heard it this morning, even for non-devotees. So people you may know out there in Naperville land, or elsewhere. Doesn't matter. The Bhagavatam is all, it's this best source of purity in the age where there's too much impurity. For some people it's too much. Like, soften it up a little bit, please. But it's just pure. It doesn't soften it up. There's histories. I'll end with this. I'm tomorrow. No, Friday evening. Today's Wednesday. Today's Wednesday? Today's Wednesday. Tomorrow I'm going to St. Louis for the purpose of their weekend celebration. And then Friday, they're going to do their arranging for the festival stuff. I'm going to go to Carbondale. What's in Carbondale? There's a university. Southern Illinois University. And they have their program, their club is a midday program. For some reason, I don't know why. Midday, maybe that's when they got the room on campus. We're going to have a nice discussion. I don't know exactly how it happened, but in the evening, there's a program with the Hindu Association. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know from how they're going to receive, but I know what I'm going to talk about. And they know what I'm going to talk about. The topic is the glory of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now I'm going to have to frame it for the audience, but it doesn't matter because it's all good absolute. And we're going to have some sets of the Bhagavatam with us, and let's see what happens. Who can say? If they just, what Prabhupada said to us and expressed it a number of occasions, if people just see the book, they just touch the book, if it sits on their shelf, they just see the book on their shelf, anything, they're getting spiritual benefit. It's all good absolute. What to speak if they read a page? What to speak of, etc., etc., etc. Let it begin somewhere, because it's all good, absolute, supremely pure. How does impure become pure? By contact with that which is pure. What to speak of something that's aparusheya shabda praman. Got the language right? Pramana, means of knowing something. Shabda praman, through the source of sound, shabda praman. Aparusheya shabda praman, the best means. Knowing anything. So along with physics, Srimad Bhagavatam, please. They're compatible, they're not incompatible. Don't get so busy with physics you don't have time for Srimad Bhagavatam. And not just picking on you, all of us, we get busy with life. Too much to do, right? Not enough time to do it all. Just make sure there's time for chanting the holy name, make sure there's time for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, and of course taking prasadam. So let's see if there's some discussion. Yes. Go ahead. Hare Krishna. With or without the microphone. Don't worry about it.
Within the other meaning of Praman means proof.
Yeah, proof, means of knowing something, proof. Pramana, proof. Means of knowing something. Epistemology, those are all synonyms. Proof.
I was getting confused here.
No, you're not confused. You just have a different term, that's all. But it's also proof. Yeah, I'm going to go for the young people. You're not a young person. Okay, but let me give it to the young man over here, behind you. He's got the mic already. You're next. I promise you.
So you said that Buddha's talking about like once you become enlightened, there's like nothing.
Yeah, but that's their idea. That's not our idea.
Yeah, but isn't like Buddha like an avatar of like
Yeah.
Vishnu?
So what's he doing? Saying, chucking the Vedas and saying there's nothing.
Yeah.
That's your question.
Yeah.
Yeah. He came at a certain time for a certain purpose. And part of the, let me ask you this. Why creation? Because in creation there's suffering. And some people think the suffering is happiness, but it is suffering. And why? Because people wanted it. So Buddha, why did he chuck it? Because people wanted it. At least to make them clean. Clean, nonviolent, truthful, charitable, mode of goodness. You know, the teaching goes down a dark hole that there's no cheese there. But people wanted it. So he gave what people needed, to some degree what they wanted. They're frustrated with the suffering of material existence, so he gave them a means to get directionally free from suffering by living a quality of goodness and numbing themselves, basically. Because they wanted it. Now, let me share something with you. One of the things that I do on a regular basis is I interact with people from China, devotees. And many of the devotees in China previously had some experience with Buddhism. It helped them stay a little bit clean from the contamination of Kali Yuga. They don't really know what Buddhism is. They like, being numb a little bit, I guess. So it takes a little bit to help them understand the distinction between numbness and transcendence. But it helped. They have to transition from Buddhism. But it helped them to some degree at least from this total contamination. So that's why.
So it's like a stepping stool.
It's a procedure. You know, why are there prescriptions in the Vedas for material prosperity? Because it involves people in karma. So why should the Vedas involve people in karma? For a purpose of gradual elevation, because people want the fruits of karma. So it tells them how to get the fruits of karma, but get elevated in the modes of goodness and closer to transcendence. Indirect. Because people wanted it. They wouldn't just surrender to Krishna. Sorry, Charlie. Give me something else. Okay, here's something else. It'll eventually take you to Krishna. That's okay. Let's worry about that later. I want my stuff. My material objects. So here's this object. What's your favorite object? And here's a procedure. It's indirect. Why have indirect? All you need is direct. So why have Buddhism? Because people wanted it. They wanted numb instead of suffering. And it helps. It has helped many people. A little bit cleaner than otherwise. There's a lot to say on that topic another time. Okay, where's our enthusiastic gentleman? You want clarification on what topic?
Maharaj, I did not read Bhagavatam, but I read Ramayana and Bharat, but I read some because in childhoods, from 7th class to 12th class, we have in Telugu, Bhagavatam, non-details,
Good.
that it is directly translated from Vyasa Maharshi to Bhakta Potana, and that is one of the hardest part we passed. So in that actually you told that Yogamaya and Krishna are twins, right?
Wait, what's he saying?
Krishna and Yogamaya are twins.
Are twins. That according to the Bhagavatam, they were born at the same time, twins.
But same time, same time and same time. But what happened? Krishna born at Devaki and Yogamaya born at Yashoda, and Krishna born at prison, and
He had two births at the same time.
same time, but not in same mother.
That's right.
And
Why not? If you're British, you can do
twins
that.
means-
You can't do that. I can't do that. But that doesn't mean
no,
you
but
can't do that
twins
because we
means
can.
same womb. It should be same.
No, that's your
maybe
idea.
Maybe I'm not wrong. Maybe
No,
I may be
no.
wrong.
No.
But it was
It is wrong.
strongly fixed in my mind.
Okay.
So that's why, because in childhood we read, na? childhood you read.
okay.
So strongly it fixed in our mind.
I presented something yesterday. You listened carefully. Thank you.
No, it is very excellent.
But thank you. There was all that
No,
noise.
I was very, I am very impressed. Actually,
Okay.
I was very impressed. So many Indians cannot teach like you. I agree, and I am very, very thanks to come to our home, and really awesome your lecture, and so many things we
Grandfather.
listened. Yeah, and so many things. Actually, even
He greeted me at the door when I came in.
and thank you very much for your nice lecture in Bhagavatam.
But
So
you
many
wanted
things you-
clarification on Krishna being born two different Krishnas
thank you.
from two different wombs. Thank you for giving the microphone back too. So no. I want to answer his question. I didn't answer his question. Shh. I'm going to answer your question. There's one source of everything. There's not multiple sources of everything. There's one source of everything. And that one source of everything can expand in different ways, three principal ways: personal expansions, energetic expansions, material and spiritual energy. The living entities, that's us, we're spiritual sparks. That's a certain expansion. There's material nature, that's another category, prakriti. Para prakriti and apara prakriti, two. Spiritual and material. Para, the living entities, but tiny sparks of a big fire. So energetic expansions and personal expansions. The personal expansions includes, for example, you're very familiar because you're a learned man. They're avatars and they're expansions. And if you listen, part of what you should have heard because you listened carefully, Vishnu and Krishna, according to scripture, they're the same. But there's distinction between, because one is the source and the other is expansion from the source, and that source has characteristics that the expansion doesn't manifest. So let's say the Lord is within the heart. That's one of his expansions. The Lord is in the heart. Krishna is in the heart of every living entity. We can say that. More specifically, it's Vishnu. More specifically, it's Shiradakshay Vishnu. It's one of the Vishnu, one of the three Vishnus. But we can also say Krishna's in the heart because they're not different. But that source, Krishna, is not the same as the expansion that's within the heart. But Krishna is all-knowing. Krishna in the spiritual world is all-knowing, and he knows what Vishnu in the heart knows, knows everything. And all beings at all times, that's information overload for any computer. But Krishna can't handle it. He's got a big hard drive. He's very capable knower of all things. Now, of those expansions of Krishna, one appeared in the womb of Devaki, another, the original form of Krishna, appeared in the womb of Yashoda. No problem, because the Lord and his expansion appeared at the same time. There's no difference. And like, for example, when Krishna married 16,108 queens, he built a palace for each one, and in Dwarka he expanded himself into each palace with each queen at the same time. Yogis, according to what scripture says, they can make manifestations of themselves but a weaker form and up to 18. Not more, but there's weaker. But Krishna is no weaker. 16,108 full Krishnas at the same time doing different things with different queens. No, Krishna's not limited. When that gets settled, then he can simultaneously appear from two different wombs. No problem. One can be an expansion of him, and one can be him. No problem. The resolution of that uncertainty, what I heard from I never heard that from a child, and you heard something else from a child, so we're both in the same boat. We heard something else. Now, how to accept this one? The absolute truth, the source of everything, has unlimited and inconceivable potencies. Achintya is inconceivable. Achintya Shakti, by his Achintya Shakti, he can do anything. Say it negatively. There's nothing he cannot do. He can do anything. He can appear from two wombs at the same time, the same night. Different places. No problem. Okay. Yes, all the way in the back.
Guru Maharaj, you just showed Sankarshan passing on the knowledge
To the four Kumaras.
to four Kumaras. And typically we associate four Kumaras when we, at least my understanding is they were Brahman realized.
Yes, they were. So was Shukadeva Goswami, by the way.
Correct. So how is it that as they pass on, is it that when they visited Vaikuntha,
It's a different day of Brahma, please. Don't mix the two. Okay? That's how. You just hit the reset button, different day of Brahma, and it can be like this during this day and that during that day, no problem. It's not a contradiction. It's just a different day of Brahma. Is that all right? What else? Anyone else? Yes. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
I go.
Earlier you were speaking about the glories of Bhagavatam and you were quoting some of the various glories, meaning
Yes.
even if all the scriptures
Yes.
are destroyed.
That's Bhaktisiddhanta. That
Yes.
was his way of presenting glories.
My question, Maharaj, is likewise when there are other scriptures also seem to be glorified in the same fashion. How would we distinguish between one scripture glory?
Fantastic. Supposing a lower court says this, an appeal court says that, and the Supreme Court says something else. Well, how do you reconcile? Supreme Court? That's how you reconcile. So what's the Supreme Court amongst the Puranas? It's really simple. He's got another microphone. Go ahead.
Maharaj, you had mentioned that by giving one Srimad Bhagavatam on Bhadra Purnima Day, one attains the abode of the Supreme Lord. And on Janmashtami Day, Govinda Mohini Mataji and her small Gujarati family, they decided to give 50 Bhagavatam sets. On
50, 50.
yes.
Where's Govinda Mohini? She's carrying Krishna Shakti somehow. She's a small framed little lady and somehow she's got Krishna Shakti to the max. Go ahead.
So I just was curious, what would be the destination for the answer?
For Govinda Mohini? Or for the people that received it?
Well,
Or both?
well, we want everyone to do 50. So what would be the 50 for you?
Krishna's extending his arms saying, hurry up. I'm waiting. We don't have to hurry up, but, I'm waiting expectantly. Please return. It's a little bit like, there's no explicit answer to that question that I'm aware of, how much is 50 times unlimited? It's unlimited, 50 times. And I can get really smart aleck and say, where were the 50 golden thrones? I sent a message to Vaisheshya Prabhu, which he hasn't answered me yet. I don't know why. He's busy, I guess. How do you explain when people ask, what about the golden throne part of that special Bhagavatam verse? What is it? Is it a eulogy? Is it metaphorical? Is it explicit? What does it mean? So I didn't get an answer. I wanted to hear how he answers, because I'm sure there's an answer. The general sense I have is it means with respect. Not necessarily literally, but with respect, on a golden throne, with great reverence. So, here's another explanation which came in the discussion with Sri Radhika in this morning's class. Proportionate to, there's potency in this verse, and the potency in what's the message of the verse, and proportionate to one's receptivity or one's submission unto the personality of Godhead, that benefit can be received partially or fully, proportionate to one's receiving capacity. Like the prayers of Queen Kunti, where different entities receive the light of the sun, but the sun's not partial. The blind man, the owl, the stone that shows the light of the sun, but is not the fullness of the light of the sun, etc., etc. So the sun is shining, and the Bhagavatam is giving its mercy. And one who can receive the mercy proportionate to one's relationship with or submission unto that source. The potency is there in its fullness. Depends on the receptivity of the individual. It's not an exaggeration. There's a whole section I didn't get into because of time. We'll do it another time. This isn't an exaggeration. We'll do it another time. I'm going to be back with you again after the weekend, so I think we should end. Sri Radhika wants to say something, so we'll end with your question.
Thank you very much.
Unless our youth have a question. You have any question? You're stunned. I put you through torment. If you have a question, you get the last question. Go ahead.
The topic of be here now.
Go ahead, try now.
On the topic of be here now,
Be here now. Yeah.
for us, it all begins in the bead bag.
Yes.
The quality of our presence the rest of the day
Yes.
is determined by the quality of our presence with Sri Nam Prabhu.
Yes.
And I'm also coming to realize that the reverse is also true.
Yes, is also true.
So the quality of the presence we have the rest of the day influences, it develops the habit. Neural pathways are developed that influence the quality of our presence with our chanting in the morning. And our modern materialistic life, or our modern life with its many gadgets, multitasking is glorified as a virtue, juggling multiple priorities, it's a very complicated life that's not conducive to presence.
Right. It's producive to absence.
Yes. And it takes radical acts to
Well, take gradual, not necessarily radical.
change the quality of our presence or the choices we make during the day.
Yeah.
So a question that arises, Guru Maharaj, is how is it possible that something material, which is the quality of our presence, with our activities during the day, can influence something that is so spiritual, which is my relationship with Sri Nam Prabhu?
It's bhakti. So what's bhakti? Read what the Vyasa Puja offering that I wrote, succinct as it was. That's it. That's where the essence is. And where there's love, attention goes to that place where there's love. Naturally, we don't have to get wired and be radical about it. It just goes there. So the object of it, as much as we can make, it's proportionate to, as much as we can make the object of our love, the Supreme, the Krishna, and then see other things that we do and to make up our day-to-day multitasking lives. The Krishna is at the center. If something interferes with it, you leave it to the side. and keep Krishna in the center. It's not radical, it's just, cultivation of bhakti. Making that principle-based choice. And you cultivate that throughout your life. And that's where you'll be at the end of your life. Srila Prabhupada ki.